People often tell me that this is the best job in the world. Maybe not today though. Hello, I'm Peter Vaughan and I've just arrived at the Caravan and Motorhome Club's Ferry Meadows site with this brand new Ford Tourneo Custom Swift Monza, the new second generation, if you like, Swift Monza, and the little brother to the Trekker that we reviewed last month. So, the new Swift Monza, well, the first one came out in 2021, and here we are 3 years later with a brand new model, designed of course around the new V710 generation of Ford Transit Custom, or should I say Tourneo Custom, the people carrier version. The van is a little bit bigger, a little bit wider and a little bit longer than its predecessor. But one key thing with the Monza is that the spec that you see here is how you get it. Really, there are almost no options on this vehicle bar an automatic gearbox. So you get things like the 19-inch wheels as standard, and a choice too of 4 colours. Perhaps the dog doesn't like this matte grey. Well, perhaps little Woofy over there, or big Woofy over there, might choose magnetic grey instead, or chrome blue, or my favourite, the artisan red, which I think looks rather swish. So none of those paint colours cost you any extra above the standard price of £73,495. The one thing I did mention, if you want the automatic gearbox, that is £1,995, basically £2,000 extra. But it comes with an engine upgrade too, from the 150 horsepower that you get with this manual version to 170 horsepower as the automatic. And while you get 6 ratios with a manual, the automatic is now an 8-speed gearbox. Dimensions, well, it's 2.07 metres high, so it will go under some height barriers, the 2.1 metre ones of course. Width is 2.15 metres with the mirrors folded. I think the actual body width quoted, without including the mirrors at all, is 2.03 metres, and the length, as I say, it has grown a bit, and compared with the old short wheelbase Custom to now 5.05 metres. Wait a minute, Vaughanie, what about the weights? Well, this manual version is on a 3,190 kilo maximum gross weight. If you go to the automatic, you get a slightly heavier gross weight of 3,240 kilos. But really, as far as payload is concerned, there's nothing in it. The manual one has 510 kilos of payload, and the automatic 507 kilos. And if you think I'm rattling through the statistics, well, there was a little bit of sunshine around, but biblical rain is forecast tonight, and it's already spitting on the windscreen. So let's have a look around the exterior of the Monza before the heavens open. Well, the 19-inch wheels I've mentioned already, and they are very smart. Should notice too at the front these LED headlights, which are brilliant, no pun intended. No, driving back from Leicester last night, those were really fantastic, and they do the automatic dipping and main beam as well. Really, really good headlights, perhaps like the best I've ever had on a campervan. Yes, you have 2 sliding doors, but the offside one doesn't give you any access. Just the back of the kitchen, where you've got your external shower point and servicing access for the loo, plus just a little bit of storage down at the bottom here. Windows, well, they're all quite tinted with this flush automotive glazing. The only thing is that these sections are not sliding, they just pop out, so they don't give you a great deal of ventilation. The graphics, well, like them or loathe them, they do add a bit of colour to this rather grey, bland colour The exterior, the matte grey, wouldn't be my choice, but I think it is quite on trend. And then you've got your chromed Swift logo and your mains hookup point. The people carrier style looks continue around the back, where you've got one-piece tailgate with wash wipe. You've got a reversing camera too, which is a godsend even with a compact vehicle like this. And I say compact, it does look really quite smart, doesn't it too? I've used this vehicle to go to the office, to go to the theatre, do the shopping, take my son to school. It's a very usable size of vehicle. And it never looks out of place either. It looks smart wherever you go. Outside a fancy restaurant, it wouldn't look out of place. But on the campsite, well, you've got your external gas barbecue point there, which is unusual on this size of camper. Underneath the back here, you've got both your fresh and waste water tanks, 40 litres fresh and 29 litres waste, but they go where your spare wheel would normally live, so you just get a fix and go kit in this Swift Monza. The other thing to note on this side, well, on both sides really, lock the van and it tucks in its ears. Whoop! How neat is that? You might also have noticed down here there's an exhaust for the diesel fired heating. It's a 2.2 kilowatt Eberspacher system. Same pop out window again in the sliding door, same as on the other side. And then when you slide back the door, well, we won't go into detail on the interior just yet, but one thing you do notice straight away is, like on a VW T6, you've got a step just inside the door. The old Transit had a rather high floor, and the old Monza needed an electric slide out step. You don't need that anymore, so this is much more convenient for access. Right, time to go from people carrier mode or car mode to campervan mode, and that of course means popping up the roof. It's an SCA roof, so nice quality German roof, and the first thing you have to do is unpopper this trim panel that keeps things all nice and tidy, gives you a nice look to the headlining in the cab. No roof canvas on show. Some Velcro straps to undo, again just keeping the material nice and tidy. And then on either side you've got these belt and braces style roof catches, so roof's never going to go up by mistake because you have two catches on either side. And then of course just push up the roof bed, and then if the weather's on your side you can completely unzip the roof canvas at the front of the pop top, and then just tidy it up by rolling up the canvas and using these Velcro straps. And now look at all that lovely fresh air and daylight coming in, all bug proof too. Fantastic. Well, fantastic if you're in Spain, but we're not. We're in Peterborough. It's forecast to rain biblically, as I said, maybe thunderstorms. So I think we'll be zipping this back up again. And now you haven't got all that lovely daylight, and the only window that you've got in the roof is that little one over there. Last thing to do, of course, when setting up is just to spin the front seats around, and that couldn't be much easier. Even the driver's seat turns quite easily because you've got no handbrake in the way. It's an electronic parking brake. It's properly raining now, but with shelter from the tailgate, I'll just be able to show you the boot area. Now, if you've watched any of my videos on this type of camper van, this sort of side kitchen layout, or if this is what you're looking for, then do pay attention because this is a really important bit. Look at all the space under here. I've just got one nice big comfy outdoor chair, which I don't think I'm going to be using on this road test, but it's there to show you the space available. Might be more handy to have my boots. And then at the top level, you've got room for all your bedding. And of course, then when you unfold the bed, it just unfolds on top. It's there where you want it. More details here. Well, you've got a bit of storage in this back corner. Got levelling wedges, hose, the external shower fitting that you saw earlier, your mains lead, all that goes in there. And then you've got an external main socket or a main socket that you can use for some sort of outdoor appliance there as well. A ladder is provided for the upstairs or roof bed. It's a bit of a bulky thing to carry, but again, with all this boot space, it doesn't matter so much. A lot of people don't bother with a ladder in this type of campervan because it's kids usually that go in the roof, and it's easy enough to clamber up via the kitchen. Now, if it's not bedding that you need to carry, perhaps you're using the van for some major shopping trip, well then you can tip this back section of mattress vertically. That also reveals the table, which you can get at when the bed is, or this bed section is folded down, but it's certainly easier like this. And of course, well, when the weather's like this, you might want to keep the table on top of the mattress so you don't have to come outside to get it. I certainly shall be leaving the table in the living area tonight because, well, I just had thunder now. Note your freshwater filler is here. Now, you will have to be extra careful. When I was topping up with a hose at home, I did spill a bit of water into the boot area because you need to have lightning reactions to turn the water off as soon as that's full. Over on the other side, you've got your gas locker, and unusually for this size of campervan, it holds a Cala cylinder, one 6 kilo Cala cylinder. Now, that's good in the UK because Cala is much cheaper per kilogram of gas than the small camping gas cylinders that you often see in this sort of type of campervan. But on the downside, of course, you won't be able to replace your Cala cylinder on the continent, so you might want to consider an alternative refillable cylinder to go in there. Finally, because I think I'm about to get soaked, there's a 12-volt socket in the corner here, and of course the seat, being a Rimo Variotech, will slide forward to create a much bigger boot area. People often tell me that this is the best job in the world. Maybe not today though. So time to look at a bit more of the interior now at last. And well, I'm relieved not to be out there. I've had to move the van out of the massive puddle that's developed. There's only one interior finish now in the Monza. You used to be able to choose a light or dark furniture finish in the old Monza. Now they've combined the two, so you've got white and black, or very, very dark grey, to give a bit of a mix. Upholstery again, just this black half leather finish, but it is very, very automotive in here. Swift say that with Ford they've spent £500,000 developing this vehicle in terms of all the finish inside to give it that very automotive, that OEM look, sort of thing that you'd get normally with something like a Volkswagen California, Mercedes Marco Polo, that sort of thing. So just look at all the finish. It all sort of merges from Ford cab into Swift living area, and it's hard to see what's Ford and what's Swift. That's really impressive. You've got door pockets for magazines and so on. You've got USB sockets here and here. Rear passenger seat being a Rimo, well, it's a nice comfortable height. Of course, you can move it forward closer to the cab if you want for young children. Isofix positions both on the outside and this side here, but not in the middle. So you can put 2 child seats in the back, adjustable headrests, of course, and 3 seat belts. It's a nice, comfortable place to relax on site too. And then maybe let's have a look at the lighting. Well, you've got this strip light that goes right the way around the sort of roof cutout, and that is dimmable via the control panel. So you can have it bright as it is now, or dim it down for a more relaxed feeling. Depends on your mood, but it's so dark and dingy outside at the moment, I think we'll have it nice and bright. You also got this ambient light on the front of the kitchen, looks very smart, and floor level lighting for the kitchen too. And then these blue strips in the sort of wood look floor. With those strip lights in the floor, they can be on while you're driving as well. There's a kitchen light here, just a little LED strip, and then finally another LED strip around the top of the pop top, although well, that's mainly covered when the roof bed is up, but of course that is the main lighting for those sleeping upstairs. Both cab seats fully swivel. They're the same half leather finishes in the rear, and they really do become part of your living area. Up front too, there's more than 2.4 metres of headroom, so wear a top hat if you want. Storage, there's a good sized drawer under the rear seat, that's really useful space. And then the kitchen has some novel touches too, like this slide out unit here. Now unfortunately no area is tall enough for cereal packets, and they're not deep enough shelves for things like tins of soup, but it is good space nonetheless. Packets of biscuits, bread rolls, OXO cubes, packets of coffee beans, these little tins of tonic water, all those sort of things fit neatly in there. You've got good sized cutlery drawer as well, but no individual fittings to stop things sliding around, or to give space for spoons to be separate from knives, for example. The fridge, unusually, is a drawer style, 42 litres Vitrifrigo compressor fridge, and that seems to have a good amount of space, and it's nice to be able to see exactly what's in there because it slides out towards you. Alongside that, you've got room for the porta potty. Well, it's actually a Dometic loo rather than the porta potty brand, and I think that is a little bit of a mistake because I've used to have one of those Dometic loos myself, and I found it, well, a bit flimsy, shall we say. Above that, there's a useful shelf. I've got my pots and pans in there. Just about the only option on this vehicle is the mini grill. That's a £195 option. Personally, unless you're obsessed with toast, I think I'd do without it because I'd rather have the extra storage. So more storage. Well, you've got this timbre door into your wardrobe. There is a hanging rail in there, but there's also a removable shelf, and I think that's the more practical option. Plenty of room for folded clothes. Down the bottom, you've got your vehicle electrics, habitation electrics in there as well. So a good sized space in there. This only looks like a little cupboard, but actually I've got all my crockery in there, so that's a decent sized space. This one is one of those sort of mystery cupboards that really you can't use very much because wherever the seat is, it always seems to be in the way of that cupboard. But then you've got these top lockers, and I said earlier you couldn't get a tin of soup in the slide out unit. Well, you can put a tin of soup on its side in there. And in this one, yes, you can get a cereal packet on its side in there if you want cereal in the morning. A bit of worktop space here alongside your combined cooker and sink unit. We mentioned the USBs earlier, but you've also got a main socket there, your heater controls, and of course your main control panel that does lights, tells you battery condition, does your water pump, and so on. As with most camper vans of this type, your cooking is on a 2-burner hob, and there's a sink alongside. It's a Dometic unit here. It's got push button ignition. And of course, you can do your cooking sitting down. The table, of course, is freestanding, so you can use it outside. Not today, but you can use it outside as well as in. It's about the right size for the space. Of course, you could slide the seat forward so that all 4 seats or all 5 seats could reach the table, but tonight there's just me and it's better to have a bit more floor space. So, dinner time now. Cheers. Then at night, well, it's simple enough to pull the blinds on all the rear windows, and you just add silver screens inside on the cab windows. Nice pleated blinds, but to me they're the wrong way up because, well, when you want a bit of daylight but still privacy in the morning, well, as you can see, they're the wrong way round for that. Sleeping, well, you've got 2 choices, and the easy one, of course, is to just pull down the roof bed. I've got the ladder already in situ, and that makes access nice and easy up to a really comfortable double bed because it's on those plastic springs. Bed size, well, it's 1.96 metres by 1.18 metres, or 6'5" by 3'10½". If you prefer to sleep downstairs, well, that's not a great deal more effort. Lift up the front of the sofa so that you can flip it over, and then there's a handle underneath that you release to drop the backrest down flat. And then, as you'll see, the bedding that was in the boot is now ready to be unfurled, ready for a good night's kip. And finally, it's bedtime in a bed that's nice and flat, 2.01 metres long by 1.17 metres wide. That's 6'7" by 3'10". Good night. Then there's just one thing to note regarding your morning cuppa. Cooker and sink fully accessible, of course, and your cutlery drawer, most of your cupboards too. But if you want to get into the fridge, well, it hits on the end of the bed. So just lift the end of the bed. Might disturb your partner, but you can then get to the milk. So, morning cuppa consumed. It's time to go for a drive. So what's it like to drive this Swift Monza? Well, perhaps the first thing I should tell you is that you get this lovely 13-inch display. But this one is the second one I've had that's gone slightly mad because it thinks we're in Downham Market when actually we're in Peterborough. The last one I had thought we were in Bury St Edmunds when actually we were in Northampton. Don't know. But the rest of it is excellent. You've got various drive modes you can select on there, sport and economy and slippery. Excellent reversing camera display on there, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and you can adjust all the various assistance systems. So you've got lane keeping and all the modern gizmos that go with a very up-to-date vehicle. You've also got a speed limit warning. So if you go even 1 mile an hour over the speed limit, and that's according to the speedometer here, which is a little bit optimistic from time to time, it will bong at you. Now you can turn that off, but you have to turn it off every single time you drive. So every time you switch the engine off, it resets the bong. Now you'll notice we've got the manual gearbox 150 horsepower version here. It's quite sprightly, not as sprightly as the old 170 horsepower and the old Transit Custom. I've driven a few of those and they really were quite sparkling. This one's, it's done 2,000 miles now, so it's not fresh out of the box, but probably still loosening up, and it's more than adequate for a camper van. Of course, if you go for the automatic, you get a bit more power, and interestingly, Swift is launching a PHEV version, a plug-in hybrid. Now that will be priced at $84,995, so it is considerably pricier. But if you live in a city centre and you want that little bit of fully electric drive, then that is an interesting new option for you. Now, driving this Ford, well, I suppose the downside if you're used to a VW is the doors don't shut with a nice thunk of a Volkswagen. It does feel perhaps a tiny bit tinnier, but it does also feel very, very modern. All this digital dashboard, the big 13-inch display there for your sat-nav and so on. It does feel like a bang up to the minute vehicle, and it does drive really, really well. Certainly wouldn't have any problem with driving this vehicle every day of the week. It's small enough to be used as an everyday car, and coming down the A1 yesterday, well, it was cruising at 70 very comfortably. It's a firm ride, but a comfortable ride. There are a few rattles, I think mainly perhaps from the rear seat, but on smoother roads it's very, very quiet. The engine noise is certainly very well subdued for this type of vehicle, and as you can see, it picks up speed nicely. The gear change is really, really slick, as you'd probably expect from a Ford. So, time to sum up on this new Swift Monza. And well, I think perhaps the first thing to say is just how well equipped it is. Not only the cab spec with these half leather heated seats, 3-stage heating, the reversing camera, sat-nav, all that sort of thing, and all the assistance systems, does feel very car-like. And then on the habitation area, well, you've got the Eberspacher heating, you've got the top quality Rimo seat and SCA roof. You know, Swift have turned to the best in the business for these fittings. And it does feel very modern, although my wife called it very manly with this black leather upholstery. And that does show the crumbs. Don't let your kids eat crisps in the back. Other things to say, well, I'm not sure about that exhaust for the Eberspacher heater. If you've got a freestanding awning out there, you won't want it blowing diesel fumes so close to that. But going back to the spec, well, you've got a 200-watt solar panel on the roof, just another one of the things like the Eberspacher heating that's standard. It's not the neatest installation with that exposed wiring on the top, but 200-watt solar panel is pretty impressive nonetheless. Rear speakers above the bed, the nice pleated blinds on the windows. Shame you can't have sliding windows rather than just those little pop-ups, but yeah, this is a nicely spec'd camper van, and it does look and feel very modern. I'm sure a lot of people will be tempted to consider this alongside vehicles like the Mercedes Marco Polo and the Volkswagen California, especially as the new California is quite small inside, certainly can't offer 3 passenger seats in the back. So a nicely finished, very automotive camper van from Swift, and I think it's going to do very well.